backwardness of the publishers themselves, unless they are really that dumb. See, my essay, my book, my most recent book called Gigging. The essay is called Jazz Criticism and Its Effect on the Music. But the critics are saying this ain't no good, this ain't good, this is not music, this is nothing. A lot of people believe that without even seeing it. For instance, today, there is no black critic of the music in any major newspaper in the United States. Rock and roll players are relentlessly highlighted in periodicals and newspapers across the country. Black blues players are jazz musicians very seldom. Rock and roll, which is simply black music or something near that played by white people at its best, many times, it's not even that, exists as a substitute for the blues. The so-called critical establishment is a publicity vehicle for fakery and racism. Whether you're talking about Dr. John or Joe Lavano being touted as what's happening in the music. And then to give the entire Marsalis family a Jazz Masters Award just cheapens the whole process. In this context of general media exclusion of black blues and jazz, such fakery is more easily spread. What about Ken Burns' TV History of Jazz program? Even though he stated that he did not know anything about the music. I wonder, could I get a gig talking about the history of European concert music with somewhat better credentials than Burns had about black music? Probably not. One of the most devastating practices of co-optation of black music, almost from its first appearance in the U.S., is the cover. The cover is called. The music industry calls it the cover, where you replicate black performances and performers, versions that are then made more popular, in quotes, by industry and media. Sidney Finkelstein, in his book, Jazz, A People's Music, says, quote, commercialism should be restricted as a term to what is really destructive in the culture, the taking over of an art, in this case popular music, by business, and the rise of business to so powerful a force in the making of the music that there was no longer a free market for the musicians. Instead of distribution serving the musician, distribution where the money was invested became the dominating force dictating both the form and content of the music. You can say that about hip-hop, which is just another form of blues, talking blues, famous talking blues. The early hip-hop, and I call it rap, because I know it rap.
You hear that?
Listen to words in space. But the early rappers like Africa Bambaataa, or Grandmaster Flash, or Curtis Blow, or early Public Enemy, that music was intensely political, you see? But when the corporation, the corpses, discovered that money could be made, then they start putting out enough money to change the direction of hip-hop. So finally make the music about sex, drugs, money, and murder. The most extreme version of that is a rapper who once did a thing on what he once say, fuck the police, or I hate the police, or something like that.
Ice Cube.
Then we look up and he is the police on television.
Ice-T. Ice-T.
Even a great rapper like Tupac, by the end of his life, was making stuff that was wholly off the launch. And that's money.
Gorilla.
You know, money, how they can actually corrupt. One great artist, Oliver Nelson, alto saxophone, blues and the abstract treatment of this piece of music. He finally made it. Quincy Jones called him, and so Quincy Jones got him to imitate Quincy Jones' music behind the films. And after that, he got a real job. He had to make an hour of $6 Million Man music every week. You know that television show, The $6 Million Man? He had to write an hour of that every week. So he was found dead on Laguna Beach, having drunk himself to death. I guess so. If you had to write that, like a friend of mine who I asked, this is a white dude, I asked what he was doing. I hadn't seen a poet in a long time. He said, I'm writing soap operas. So what soap operas? The Young and the Restless. Right. said, how much you making? He said, oh, that's obscene. But he had to write 50 pages a week of the young and the restless. Turn your brain